You work harder, you accept more responsibility. The numbers in your account increase, and yet the pressure intensifies. The weight grows heavier. The sense of stability you expected to arrive with more income never materializes. This observation appears consistently across cultures and centuries. Those who increase their effort see their income rise, yet their sense of security decreases. Their obligations multiply, their freedom contracts. The very success they pursued becomes the source of new pressure. This pattern emerges regardless of the amount involved. Whether the increase is modest or substantial, the same phenomenon occurs. More income generates more complexity. More complexity creates more points of failure. More points of failure produce more anxiety about maintaining what has been built. You observe this in your own experience. The promotion that was supposed to bring relief brings new responsibilities that consume more time. The raise that was meant to solve financial pressure gets absorbed by lifestyle inflation and new obligations. The business growth that promised independence creates dependencies you never anticipated. The pattern repeats because most people misunderstand what money actually does. Money is not a solution to pressure. Money is an amplifier of the system into which it flows. If your system lacks proper structure, money will amplify that lack of structure. If your system has containment and order, money will amplify that containment and order. Consider this carefully. When water flows into a container with holes, more water does not fix the holes. It reveals them more dramatically. When water flows into a well-constructed vessel, more water increases the vessel's capacity to serve its purpose. The difference is not in the water. The difference is in the structure that receives it. This explains why some individuals can manage large amounts with apparent ease, while others struggle with modest sums. The amounts themselves are not the determining factor. The systems that contain and direct those amounts determine the outcome. Most people build their financial systems around accumulation rather than flow. They focus on gathering more rather than creating better structure. This approach generates a predictable result. As accumulation increases without improved structure, pressure increases proportionally. The biblical account of Solomon demonstrates this pattern with unusual clarity. Solomon inherited a kingdom with established systems and clear boundaries. His father David had created structures for resource management, military organization, and administrative oversight. When wealth flowed into these existing systems, it amplified their effectiveness. During the early years of Solomon's reign, massive resources entered the kingdom. Gold flowed in from trade relationships. Silver became as common as stones in Jerusalem. The kingdom's capacity expanded dramatically because the wealth entered organized systems designed to handle and direct flow. The temple construction project illustrates how organized systems can handle enormous resource flows. Solomon mobilized 30,000 workers in rotating shifts. 10,000 worked in Lebanon for 1 month, then returned home for 2 months. This rotation prevented burnout while maintaining productivity. 23,000 supervisors coordinated the work across multiple locations. The project required precise coordination of materials, labor, and logistics across 7 years. Cedar logs from Lebanon, dressed stones from quarries, bronze work from skilled craftsmen, gold overlay for interior surfaces. Each element arrived at the correct time and location because systems were in place to manage the flow. The wealth amplified the structure's capability. More resources allowed for more ambitious projects, better materials, and refined execution. The temple became a testament to what happens when increase meets organized systems capable of handling that increase. But the account continues beyond the temple's completion. Solomon's later years reveal what happens when the same person operates without the constraining structure that made his early success possible. The wisdom that had created order began to be applied toward personal accumulation rather than systematic organization. Solomon accumulated wives from political alliances. He accumulated horses contrary to the restrictions placed on kings. He accumulated gold beyond practical necessity. Each accumulation created new obligations, new maintenance requirements, and new points of potential failure. The wealth that had amplified good structure began amplifying poor structure. Political marriages created divided loyalties. Massive building projects for personal benefit created resentment among the population. Accumulation for its own sake created systems designed around consumption rather than production. By the end of Solomon's reign, the kingdom faced division and rebellion. The same wealth that had built the temple and established international prominence became the source of internal pressure and external threats. The structure had changed. The wealth amplified whatever structure it encountered. This pattern appears throughout biblical accounts with remarkable consistency. When structured systems receive increase, they expand their capacity to fulfill their purpose. When unstructured accumulation receives increase, it expands the chaos and pressure inherent in the system. The account of the widow and the prophet Elisha provides another perspective on this same pattern. A woman faced crushing debt after her husband's death. Her creditor threatened to take her sons as slaves to satisfy the debt. She possessed nothing of value except a small jar of oil. Elisha instructed her to gather empty vessels from her neighbors. Not a few vessels, but many. She collected jars, pots, and containers until she had filled her house with empty vessels, arranged in organized rows. The structure for containing increase was prepared before the increase arrived. When she began pouring oil from her small jar, it continued flowing until every prepared vessel was full. The oil stopped flowing only when she ran out of containers. The amount of increase corresponded exactly to the amount of prepared structure available to contain it. She sold the oil, paid her debt, and had enough remaining to live on with her sons. The increase was sufficient for complete resolution because it flowed into prepared structure rather than into an unprepared system. The pattern emerges clearly. Prepared structure receives increase proportional to its capacity. Unprepared systems receive increase that amplifies their disorder. Modern examples confirm this ancient pattern. Individuals who suddenly acquire large amounts through lottery winnings, inheritance, or business sales often experience increased pressure rather than increased peace. The money amplifies existing systems of decision-making, relationship management, and resource allocation. Those whose existing systems lack structure find that more money creates more chaos. More options generate more confusion. More opportunities create more pressure to choose correctly. The absence of clear decision-making frameworks becomes magnified when the stakes increase. Conversely, those who have developed systematic approaches to resource management find that increase expands their capacity to fulfill their purposes. Clear priorities remain clear. Effective processes become more effective. The presence of structure becomes magnified when resources flow into it. The distinction is not moral or spiritual, it is structural. Systems designed around accumulation become stressed when accumulation increases. Systems designed around flow and purpose become more capable when resources increase. Most people construct their financial approach around accumulation because accumulation feels like progress. The number in the account increases. The assets on the balance sheet grow. The net worth calculation improves. These metrics create the impression of advancement, But accumulation without structure creates stagnation disguised as growth. The resources gather but do not flow toward meaningful purposes. The wealth exists but does not serve its intended function. The accumulation becomes an end in itself rather than a means to an end. Structure creates pathways for resources to flow toward purposes beyond mere accumulation. Clear purposes generate clear priorities. Clear priorities create decision-making frameworks. Decision-making frameworks enable resources to move efficiently toward objectives. When structure exists, increase enhances the system's ability to serve its purpose. When structure is absent, increase creates new problems that require energy and attention to solve. The difference in outcome is dramatic. The biblical account of Joseph illustrates systematic resource management under pressure. 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine created an opportunity to observe how structured preparation handles both increase and decrease. During the years of abundance, Joseph organized systems for collection, storage, and preservation. Grain was gathered systematically from across Egypt. Storage facilities were constructed and maintained. Distribution networks were established for future use. The increase was channeled into structure rather than consumption. When famine arrived, the prepared systems could respond effectively. Stored resources flowed through established channels to feed both Egypt and surrounding nations. The structure that had been built during abundance served its purpose during scarcity. Joseph's approach demonstrated how proper structure handles both increase and pressure. The same systems that managed abundance managed shortage. The same organization that collected resources distributed them. Structure proved more valuable than the resources themselves. This principle applies beyond financial resources to time, energy, relationships, and opportunities. Any form of increase requires structure to be beneficial rather than burdensome. Without structure, increase becomes pressure. With structure, increase becomes capacity. The key insight is that most people focus on increasing their resources rather than improving their systems. They pursue higher income, better investments, and more opportunities without developing better frameworks for managing what they already possess. This approach generates predictable results. Each increase creates new challenges that absorb the benefits of the increase. The person works harder to earn more and finds themselves working harder to manage more. The cycle continues without producing the intended outcome of greater security and freedom. The alternative approach focuses on developing structure that can handle increase when it arrives. This means creating systems for decision-making, resource allocation, and purpose fulfillment before pursuing dramatic increases in income or assets. When structure exists first, increase serves its intended purpose. When increase arrives without structure, it serves mainly to create new problems requiring solutions. This explains why some individuals seem to handle financial pressure easily, while others struggle despite having more resources. The difference lies not in the amounts involved, but in the quality of the underlying systems managing those amounts. The biblical accounts provide evidence of this pattern across different personalities, circumstances, and time periods. The pattern emerges independently of the specific individuals involved. This suggests that the pattern reflects structural principles rather than personal characteristics. Those who develop structure before pursuing increase find that money amplifies their capacity to serve their purposes. Those who pursue increase without developing structure find that money amplifies their existing chaos and confusion. The practical implication is clear but rarely applied. Building structure requires immediate attention and effort without immediate reward. Pursuing increase provides immediate feedback and apparent progress. Most people choose the path that feels like progress rather than the path that produces sustainable results. Yet the accounts consistently demonstrate that structure precedes sustainable increase. Those who build containment systems before pursuing wealth find that wealth serves them. Those who pursue wealth before building containment systems find that they serve the wealth. This reversal is subtle but significant. Serving wealth means working to maintain, protect, and increase what has been accumulated. Being served by wealth means having resources that work to fulfill purposes beyond their own growth. The difference determines whether money creates pressure or relieves it. When you serve money, every financial decision carries the weight of potential loss. When money serves you, financial decisions become tools for advancing purposes that matter beyond the numbers themselves. The biblical pattern suggests that this reversal happens automatically based on the sequence of development. Structure first creates service from resources. Resources first create service to resources. This sequence cannot be reversed retroactively without significant disruption. Building structure while managing accumulated resources proves more difficult than building structure before resources arrive. The pressure of existing obligations limits the flexibility needed for systematic reorganization. Therefore, the pattern suggests focusing on structure development regardless of current resource levels. Better systems improve outcomes with any amount of money. Poor systems create problems regardless of how much money is available. The accounts provide a template for understanding how structure relates to resource flow. Well-designed systems create pathways for resources to serve purposes. Poorly designed systems create obstacles that prevent resources from serving their intended functions. In the next account, we will observe this same pattern under different conditions, where increase no longer intensifies pressure but begins to produce stability. We will examine how the same principles operate in accounts of resource shortage and abundance to reveal what makes the difference between money that serves and money that enslaves. These accounts build upon one another to reveal patterns that remain consistent across different circumstances and personalities. The patterns suggest that financial outcomes depend more on systematic structure than on amounts, opportunities, or individual capabilities. These accounts do not stand alone. They are observed across time. If you want to continue observing how these patterns repeat across increase, loss, pressure, and stability, you may subscribe.